Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. You might have heard a buzzword that has been gaining a lot of popularity, and that is mindfulness. Okay, so mindfulness means living in the present moment, basically, overall. That's like a general way of looking at it. And essentially, it means being intentional, right? More aware and awake to each moment and being fully engaged in what is happening in one's surroundings. And you have to be with acceptance of everything and without judgment. And that's not easy to do. Some of the people even refer to it as a type of meditation in which you focus on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and feeling in the moment without interpretation or judgment. Practicing mindfulness can involve breathing methods, it can be guided imagery, and other practices to relax the body and mind to help reduce the stress of whatever it is that's causing the stress. But have you ever thought about using this approach to dating? If you approach dating in a conscious and proactive manner, there are a lot of benefits that you'll have. I mean, one, you'll have a sense of who you're looking for and have a better sense of yourself. You'll be able to set boundaries and practice the acceptance of difficult feelings and rejection. And you'll share thoughts, feelings, and needs with honesty and care. And while this all sounds good in theory, and it is an essential mindset when you're trying to meet someone, let's face it, it is easier said than done. And you might be someone who is just riddled with thoughts in your head, or you tend to overanalyze every little thing to death. And that just brings you out of the moment. And that is a total like date killer or flirt killer the minute you get out of that moment in your head. And that very thing is also what causes you to connect. So if you're not really in the moment, then you're not able to authentically connect with that person. So you might log on to these dating apps and you're scrolling mindlessly. You complain about not being able to meet anybody, but you ignore good opportunities to do so. Or you move through, the dating on autopilot without stopping to have a real conversation and listening to a person to learn more about them. Or you might, be more reactive kind of person than proactive when it comes to dating or flirting. So you wait until somebody approaches you or makes that first move rather than just going after what you want and initiating action in that moment. You might be worried about what they are thinking about you, comparing yourself to others, worried about getting hurt due to your past experiences, that you lose the opportunity to really get to know someone and create attraction in that moment. And none of that is fun or sexy, right? I remember there's a woman that I was working with, and she came to my dating retreat, and she was so riddled with anxiety, worried about everything. Now, she had a very narcissistic relationship prior to that, right? So there was a little bit of post-traumatic stress from it, and she was moving through the dating world, like almost like numbing out, but really it was a way for her to not feel, not to get connected, not be really like exposing herself into something because she felt like that would be dangerous for her. There was a subconscious thing happening with, the way she was interacting with men to protect herself. So she really had to learn how to get out of that kind of dating anxiety that she was having and be more present and playful and just also not getting attached to the outcome. That's huge. It's something that I always practice with all of you. And so at the retreat, she really learned how to be silly and flirt, and she was dancing up a storm. And then I worked with her on not worrying about what's next, but really worrying about what is. And I'm happy to say, like, now she is just loving dating. She's not getting attached to the outcome. She's so much calmer in the way that she's approaching things with men, that she's enjoying every single time she is on a date. And that is going to help her get to the right kind of relationship in the end. So when you date mindfully, you will have the opportunity to learn more about yourself and others and grow in your exploration and through your experiences. So with me today, I brought the perfect person to talk about this stuff. He's a fantastic man that I met at a podcasting summit, and he's a fellow podcaster. I just was on his podcast, so you have to check that out. And I recently met him and we were talking about mindfulness, and he really incorporates this not only in his podcast, but what he has done. So he works full time as a mindfulness coach, a speaker, a podcaster. In 2003, he became passionate about helping bullied children, and he was seeing the negative effects of bullying in school where he taught. And so he left the teaching profession and became a full time entrepreneur, delivering the anti bullying and respect and mindfulness. And he just talks about mindfulness in general, and the connection between bullying and mindfulness is clear. Bullying declines when mindfulness is prevalent. He is also a co-writer with Brian Tracy of the best-selling book, Cracking the Success Code. Welcome, Bruce Langford. Are you there?
I'm here. Yes, it's so great to be here. Thank you for inviting me on your show, Kimmy, and thank you for the great introduction and the very insightful thoughts about mindfulness.
Oh my gosh, no, it's my pleasure and really excited to talk about this topic because I mean, you've been practicing this for years, but
Yes.
to me, it's almost a buzzword now. It's become more popular, and not just with dating, but just like in life in general. I think we are all getting so busy. There's so much stress that people are looking for ways to calm the system and be more present and deal with all the stress that a lot of us are facing. So thank you for doing this and coming on. But I always love hearing people's backstory because I mean, I know a little bit. You and I were chatting, but I don't know all of it and what got you into all of this.
Yeah, well, you already mentioned I was a teacher. I had some real stress challenges when I was a teenager, and when I was a young kid, my mom was very depressed. And I
Mm.
had four brothers and two sisters. And when I came along, she was like, okay, Bruce is going to be the person that's going to help me. He's going to be the one because I was on a farm. My two older brothers were the ones that were out helping my dad on the farm and doing the farm work. And then so she had decided that I was the one that was going to be helping me. And so what I learned years later is that if an adult is depressed and discouraged and very in such a bad way and they reach out to a child for help,
Mm.
that is a problem. you know that really turns out to be a problem later in life, which I learned about. And so one of the things that happened to me was that I didn't find my voice. And when I became an adolescent, my voice did not change. And I had this very high, squeaky little falsetto voice. And I had no idea why. And I had no idea why all through my teenage years, up to the time I was 20, 21, I was talking in this little tiny falsetto voice. And it was
Wow.
humiliating. It was discouraging. It was bewildering. And so I sought help for that. And finally, through a therapist, that therapist said, well, you just haven't found your voice. You have a voice down there that belongs to you. And for whatever reason, you're just not using it. And so that therapist helped me with that. And I found my voice. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I was facing a whole new, exciting world where I would be able to do cool things and I could sing and use my music and maybe even be a teacher and things like that. And so it was like totally exciting. And but now that I'm later on in life, I still look back and realize that that did have a lasting impact, growing up that way. And so that's a little bit of my story, Kimmy.
Oh my God, that's fascinating. And when you said that you had lost your voice, I was thinking of it like a metaphor, like,
Right, of
you
course.
weren't right, but that it physically manifested in your actual
Yes,
voice. I mean, what a
exactly.
powerful kind of way of looking at it. And here, full circle, you come and you're this like big podcaster where your voicing
Right. Yeah.
yourself and your opinion. I always
Yes.
say our challenges usually become our gifts,
Yeah.
and it's
True.
just how we overcome them and how it gets, like implemented too. It's like I always joke,
Yes.
I used to be the worst flirt ever, and here I do like flirt workshops now, right? So I love that
Yes.
story. Well, so how did mindfulness come in with your story then?
Well, so what happened was I was a teacher. I was a music teacher and
Mhm.
absolutely loved teaching music and teaching band
Oh,
and
wow.
all that kind of thing. And but I started to realize that some of my students were just so unhappy, so miserable because they were being bullied. And that took me
Mhm.
into that world of bullying prevention. And I just decided, hey, why shouldn't I be the one to get out there and help people make a difference? And this was way back in 2003 when not much was being done about this topic. And so I created a musical program and I went on the road and I created an alter ego for myself that was a very, very different person from myself. And so I was on stage all the time, day after day after day, presenting many, many hundreds and thousands of presentations on this topic. So I did that. And then I began to realize more and more that, if you can teach mindfulness to teachers and children and help them understand what that truly means, then bullying will just decrease, as you mentioned in the introduction. And so then I started being really passionate about mindfulness and started the Mindfulness Mode podcast and started doing coaching and became a hypnotist. And I do hypnosis now to help people. And so all of that transpired.
So here's an interesting question since we're talking about dating and mindfulness. Like, had you then incorporated mindfulness in your own life? And then did you ever use it with dating and relationships for yourself?
Yes, I did. I used it in order to basically find my first wife or my second wife. So what happened was I'll just cut it short. I took a Tony Robbins course,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
in that course, he talked about, hey, finding the woman that is right for you and how to do that. And part of that involved mindfulness. And I just thought, well, I'm just going to do exactly what he says because I want to have a partner. I want to have a wife. I want to have that in my life. And so I just set out to do exactly what he taught. And so I mindfully went ahead and I found this woman, and she's still my wife. And this is 25 years later.
You make it sound so easy and magical. It's like just practice mindfulness and you will attract your next person.
Well, it was magical. I will tell you that much because I was like, wow. I had just gone on a date with someone and I thought, well, that is not the person. I was quite sure of that. That is not the right person. And so then I just did these things that he taught. And then I'm like, oh, wow, maybe this is the person. And I had a photo of her, but I'd never dated her or anything like that. And I
Wow.
remember I drove out to visit my dad because he was always a really good judge of people, it seemed to me. And so I showed him a photo of this girl, and I said to him, "So, what do you think about this girl? Do you think I should ask her out on a date?" And he looked at it, and my dad was always very touchy feely, and so he ran his hand over the photo, just like ran his hand over the photo and looked at it, and then he looked up at me in this very slow voice that he had, very thoughtful voice, and he said, "You date her right away. Call her as soon as you can."
Oh my God, that's
And the rest
hilarious.
is history. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, okay. So was there any like techniques that you used? I mean, maybe it was like some of the things that you learned at Tony Robbins, or maybe things that you actually teach today that helped you kind of maybe overcome some of your fears of rejection or things, it can, especially, and this is so common, right? Like people are more nervous around somebody that they're interested in or attracted
Yeah.
to, and especially if you've had a history of things not working out. Like, I'm just curious what happened to you.
Definitely I use techniques. And what I did was I was just said like a mantra to myself, just be yourself. Bruce,
Hmm.
be yourself. Just take a deep breath and be who you are. And just go right through that. Don't try to be someone else or be different or anything else. Just be who you are, and that's probably the best way, because then if this person uh you know doesn't think that you're the right person for them, then that's good,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I'm not the right person for them. So
Yeah, that's actually a really important point, especially given some of the dynamics that you shared with your story. Because I work with a lot of people, and maybe you listening are one of them, where you grew up being the caretaker. You had that role, and either you were told by a parent that you had to do that, or you took it upon yourself. There was some sort of underlying message that you
mhm,
had to do that. So that's where your confidence lived, right? Like your
right.
confidence lived in being the helper and the
Yes.
pleaser and all of that. And the what you just said is really important, is to not like be something that you're not, and
Right.
do something that makes you feel good, and go and really go after something that you want. How did you make that switch? Because I think that's the key thing. Because you could say, well, I'll just say a mantra and then everything will be fine. But I'm sure there was some work that you had to do along the way to overcome some of that.
Yeah, there was. So I just uh yeah, I did a lot of the work just by um meditation and just
Mm,
being alone. I remember, oh, I just wanted to be alone. I just felt like, okay, this is what I need to do right now. And I remember moving into this little house and putting dark curtains on the windows. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just have to go in this little house and just be there and just do this thing, you know? And
mm,
then I think it was like 8 months later. It's like, what am I doing with these curtains, with these dark curtains on the windows? And I was like pulling curtains back and started painting lighter colors on the walls and all that kind of thing. And then I realized, oh, I think I must be kind of getting to be on the other side of that. And then I felt much
oh,
better, and I felt like, yeah, I'm ready to get out there and meet someone. And yeah, I just want to just be as real as I possibly can. Just be the person I am and not try to pretend I'm something else.
yeah. Oh, that's a cool vision too, to think about. Like it's like painting a different picture or creating a different story, right? In a creative sense, or maybe writing a song
Yes,
that is a new song, about you. And I think any of those kind of creative things can really help someone tap into something different. I mean, I do that with wardrobe a lot. I call it a
right.
costume. Like even if you
Yeah,
don't think you're sexy, act as if until you become. And that's an important distinction in being something that you're not. Is like there are pieces of everybody that maybe want to come out, but you're scared, so
yeah.
it's like giving yourself permission to have something different come out, whether it's through vision, through wardrobe, through painting, whatever that might look like. But I think having that tangible vision is such a powerful tool.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what would you say to someone then? And maybe this is just not just you, but like maybe in the practice that you have right now, I'm sure you see this all the time. People who feel like they want to give up or like things aren't working. Are there certain techniques or tools that you give them to help them with that?
Yeah, I think that it's really important to know, to understand, to have clarity about who you are and what you want in life, so that then you can go ahead and search out what's right for you. So I always use a little acronym on the word calm, and the C
Mm.
stands for clarity, because I think we have to gain clarity about ourselves and what we want and what we're going for. And I think it can be a very, very challenging thing to get that clarity. And a lot of times I think that um, people sometimes use substances, because, we
Oh,
think, oh
yeah.
my gosh, I feel so stressed, and I feel so, oh my gosh, I just am not sure how to do this. So I'll smoke something, or I'll, drink alcohol, or whatever it happens to be. And the problem with that is then you're not presenting yourself as the person you really truly are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I'm dead set against substances. It's just that it can lead you to this bad spot of not being genuine. You're not the person that you really are. So I think that if you can gain clarity on who you are and then move forward from there, it can really help you.
Absolutely. So what's the A.L.M.?
Well, the A for I just think this is so important to be active, to
Uh-huh.
get out there, to like
Mhm.
whatever works for you, whether it's like walking or running or playing sports or lifting weights or whatever it is. And I think in this world, so many of us we just don't do that thing, that activity, whatever it is, to really gets us going. It gets us excited. It gives us that adrenaline. It gets our adrenaline going. And I think that that's missing in a lot of people's lives. So that's the A. The L is letting go, learning what
Mm.
that truly means, because that's a mystery to a lot of people. And the
Yeah.
M is meditation. And so I just think that we've got to find some form of meditation, and it will be different for everyone, you know?
Yeah, can we talk a little bit about that? Because we actually talked about this on your podcast as well. And I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not a woo-woo girl at all.
Yeah.
People who listen to my podcast, they know this is not like anything different, but I'm more about, action and practice. And
Yeah.
yet I still believe in the laws of attraction and the energy that we have and how that relates to what we attract in. And so with like meditation, I know there's a lot of people like me who get antsy during meditation. Like they
Sure.
don't want to just sit there and go kumbaya, with
Oh,
with
yeah.
with your hands up, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Are there different kinds of I would love for you to talk about the different kinds of meditation that are
Well,
out there.
yeah, there definitely are different kinds of meditation out there. And the important thing to remember about meditation is not to get caught up in the word or whatever connotation that word creates in your mind. Because a lot of
Mm,
us might think, oh, meditation, oh, give me a break. I'd rather get out there and do anything else except that. But we really can thrive if we give our minds the opportunity to just have some space, because that's what we're really doing, is having some space. And so whatever that means for you, maybe it just means taking 30 seconds and just being quiet and just letting ourselves just sit there and just put on a timer for 1 minute or 2 minutes and just see how that feels. And I've had people that I've coached who said, well, you know what? I did that. I did what you told me, Bruce. And I realized I've never actually done that before. And
ah,
it's a pretty simple, straightforward thing to do, to just have a couple of minutes of silence, but just see what happens. Don't fight it. Don't
mm,
worry about, okay, I had a million thoughts. Well, okay, so what? And just let it happen. And as
mhm,
you do it, then you will start to realize, yeah, it's okay to have thoughts and let those thoughts go by, just like leaves or sticks floating by on a river, and just let
mm,
that happen. And as you do it day after day, you will start to reap some benefits from this. You will
mm,
start to feel more grounded. You will start to have more clarity in your life. You will start to think about how judgmental you might be or you might not be. And that's an aspect of mindfulness that you mentioned at the top of the show. And it's a real tough one. It really
mhm.
is. And we can learn a lot by understanding how to let go of being judgmental.
It's really hard. I mean, I work with so many people who are worried about what other people think and feel, and then it causes them to hesitate or not, take
Yeah,
action with
that's right.
whatever it is. And I love what you're saying because I also have a lot of people who are busy professionals, but then they get caught up in the dynamic of being busy, if you know what I
Yes,
mean,
I do.
and that's partly an addiction. That's part of numbing out. It's kind of like what you were talking about before. Maybe it's not a drug in the formal sense, but it's a drug in that they don't have to like stop and really think and feel because they don't want to, or maybe they're going through something, or it's scary, or whatever is going on. So I love that whole notion of just every day giving time and space for yourself and whatever that looks like. So it doesn't have to be the kumbaya thing that
No,
we're
it
talking about.
doesn't. It doesn't have to be that, Kimmy. It doesn't.
Right, right, right. Do you recommend visualization with that? Like having certain pictures in your mind as you're doing it, or is it not necessary? I mean, it
Well,
could be a good thing, but it doesn't have
it
to
can
be.
be a good thing, and it depends on the person because we're all so different. I started out years ago with guided meditations.
Oh, you
That
did?
really
Okay.
helped me. Yes,
Mm,
guided meditations that I just went online and I just found some and I made some of my own. I just thought, oh, I can do this. I'll just record a guided meditation, and so it did include visualizations because I'm a very visual person. So for
yeah.
me, that really helped to just go through this whole process of visualization. And I'm like, oh, that really is calming. Oh, it does help me feel more grounded. And especially after a few days of doing it, it's just like, oh, I can't afford not to do that. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
cool.
No, that's awesome. Well, I have a weird follow-up question then, because this is something that I teach my clients and I even do in my own life. Could movement be part of meditation? For instance, like dance or
Oh,
something?
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And there's walking meditations
Mm-hmm.
and some people find that when they run that that's a form of meditation for them. So definitely movement can be part of meditation. Absolutely.
Well, and the thing with meditation and whatever form, like that we're talking about, it helps so much with dating because most people are in their heads and not enough in their bodies. I mean, that's the problem right there. So
Yes.
if
Yeah.
you do something where it puts your body in a state of calm, in a state of presence, in a state of, really being able to hear somebody and listen, then again, like dating becomes so much easier because you're
Yeah.
grounded more as you walk
Yes.
in. Like I actually have people make a Spotify list of their favorite like dance songs, and I tell them to play those songs and dance before they go out on a date because that'll help them get in the mood in that state. And to me, I feel like that's meditation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. That's a great idea. And you know what? With meditation, you may not notice as much what it's doing for you, but then when you
Hmm.
you go out on a date with someone else, they are going to pick up on it way more than
Oh
you
yeah.
will ever know. They're like going to feel, oh, this person is really grounded. Oh, this person is very centered and seems, don't you agree, Kimmy?
Oh my God, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you'll feel a difference. And then because of that, the person you're on a date with is going to feel that just calmness from you. I
Yeah.
know, like, have you ever been on a date or an interaction with a person and they're like anxious and they're in their head, they're
Oh,
looking
yeah.
around? It makes you fidgety and feel
It
weird.
does.
And yeah, so that's a really good point. And that's where the
Yeah.
yin and yang happen is, people will
Yeah,
come back and say, oh, I had the worst date, but yet they weren't in a good state to begin with.
exactly. Yeah, there are so many times when I've felt like I've got so many things going on and I kind of felt scattered and I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, if I'm around another person that is like that, I want to leave. Like I want to
Yeah.
take a break from that, right?
Right.
I want to be around someone that's more calm. And so if
Hmm.
I'm more calm, then I'm sure if I went out on a date with someone, maybe if I went out on a date with my wife, for instance, she would be way, way happier and more content, if I were that calm person rather than that scattered person.
Well, and to your point, it never really stops, right? I always say you're
No.
always dating your partner. So whether you're
Yeah.
married or just dating somebody now, like mindfulness is something really important to incorporate in any kind of situation. Because I was going to say, like when you started practicing mindfulness and then you attracted your second wife, did you find that she was a different kind of person because you were different?
Um, that's a good question. I think Yeah, I think that's true. I think that I did find that. Yes. Never
I
thought of
know
it
it's
that way.
well, right. I mean, a lot of people don't because you think, oh, well, I just happened to meet someone different. But then I always like to put the empowerment back on people. It's like, well, you attracted something different because there was something that you were doing that was different, or you were in a different state, or you were in a different place in your life, that kind of thing. And it's to the point that we're talking about. Like, if you go in with mindfulness and a little bit more calm, you're going to attract a different energy with that.
Totally. You totally are. Yes.
Well, I love this conversation. So, is there any kind of like client story that you wanted to share around this where you help them use mindfulness to kind of get over a certain challenge?
Yes, I've got so many of them. And especially since I started doing hypnosis a few years ago and I'm able to help people through hypnosis. It's just so incredible because even I'm guiding them through this process and I'm like amazed at how far they are coming in. And so uh I worked with a woman who had been married for 20 years and then one day after she made breakfast, her husband got up, he walked out the door, got in her pickup truck, and he said, I'm out of here. I'm leaving.
Oh,
That's it. And he drove off, and that was it. And she did not have any idea this was coming. And so for like several months, she was in a haze. She was just
mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, what's happened? And so someone that I knew said, "Oh, you should contact Bruce. Maybe he can help you," because she was just having so much anxiety and she was like hardly able to function because she's like, "Oh my gosh, what happened here? What's going on?" And so I started working with her and when I first started working with her, she said, "I just have pain in my whole entire body. I have pain in
Mm.
my feet. I have pain in my legs, my arms, my shoulders, my neck." And so, like, I worked with her. Not that I work specifically with pain, because I don't normally. I work with anxiety and stress and that kind of thing. But we worked on that and we worked on different issues. And after working with her for about 2 months, one day we were on a session and she said, Bruce, I have to ask you a silly question. She said, um, I I can't remember my issues when I first started working with you. I can't
Wow.
remember what was going on with my issues. I know, my husband left and all that, but I can't really remember the specifics. And uh, so I would always have my clients fill out an intake form. And so, we had the form and everything. And I said, "Do you remember that pain you were feeling in all these different parts of your body?" She said, "Oh my gosh, I forgot that. I completely forgot." And so it was just so
Wow.
incredible to to find that she had gone to that point. She had made such a major transition.
And so she didn't have any more pain.
No, she didn't have any more
Wow.
pain. And then she realized that the pain was connected to the anxiety.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it wasn't that she had arthritis or she had a specific thing
Mm.
causing the pain like that. It was caused by her anxiety and stress.
Wow. I said the mind and the body is
Oh,
so powerfully
so
connected. It's
powerful.
crazy. And
Yeah,
that's why I love what you do so much. And that, with a few techniques and a few ways that you can help people just really like kind of take that power back and have control over the body, and the results, that they're wanting to achieve in their life. I think it's awesome. And I
yeah,
always say, like, there's so many different modalities out there that can help people, and it always
true.
takes a village. But this mindfulness and hypnosis is like a different kind of, I think, techniques that could really, really like move the needle for people. So
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Oh my God. Well, so do you have any kind of last words of wisdom or gold nuggets that you wanted to share? And then please let everyone know how everyone can find you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, I mentioned just briefly about letting go, and
Yeah.
I think this is one of the things that is sometimes overlooked is that it's really important to understand how to let go and what that really means. Because,
Hmm.
I remember years ago I was like, "What?" I was thinking, what's that all about? But it's worth looking into. And you can check out the book Letting Go by David R. Hawkins is a great book to
Oh.
read about that. And it's just really important to think about this every day, even if it's for a few minutes, to learn how to let go. And mindfulness can be part of that. And it will just feed you. It'll give you a better life. It'll make you happier. And yes, you can check out my podcast, Mindfulness Mode, check out my website, mindfulnessmode.com. And if you're experiencing anxiety or stress of any kind, just reach out to me, Bruce at mindfulnessmode.com. I'd love to hear from you. And I just really appreciate you, Kimmy, having me on your show. This has been so much fun. Thank you.
Oh my God, you're welcome. You probably never thought about mindfulness and dating until now. I'm sure you see it in your office all the time, but just really
Yeah.
as is the way that we were talking about today. So, Bruce, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'm so happy we met and to
Yeah,
be
me too.
continued.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
And thank you for joining me today, you listening. This has been the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, of course, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And if you want to know more, make sure you go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com. And if you are having difficulties being present and having some anxiety that is paralyzing you to the point of it is affecting your dating life, then hop on a personal call with me to map out a strategy. I'd love to help you. Just click the link you see in the show notes to do that. And remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.